So my name is Daniel Kelly. I am operational management apprentice here at 3D 360. Today I'm joined with Dan Goldin, one of our previous learners on our Skills Bootcamp training. First and foremost, Dan, I appreciate you taking the time out of your, what I can only imagine, very busy schedule to speak with me today. It is much appreciated.
All good.
I guess to start with, for sort of the purposes of the recording, could you just kind of state your full name, your area that you came on the Skills Bootcamp, so I believe it was Merseyside for you, and just a bit about sort of why you wanted to come on to the Skills Bootcamp training?
Yeah, as you said, my name's Dan Goldin. I am a product developer by trade, so I've worked for the same company for about 5 or just under 5 years now, and I studied industrial design at Loughborough University. So I've always been, that's my area of specialism. It's what I'm interested in. And to be honest, the opportunity came up. I think I was approached either on LinkedIn or somewhere like that with the opportunity to learn a bit more. And I'm always keen on upskilling myself and doing little bits here and there. I'll often download courses and little things. I actually went to St Helens College last year to do a ceramics course because it popped up and I thought it's interesting. I had a bit of free time and I like learning new things. So the opportunity came up and I thought that sounds interesting. And obviously the fact that it would benefit directly the role I'm in now currently appealed to me quite a lot. So I spoke with the bosses and managed to get enrolled on there. And to be honest, I wanted to see how much it had changed since it was about 10 years ago when I started university for industrial design. I've owned 3D printers. I've used them prior to that when I was at college and at university and throughout. And I kind of wanted to see how much it had changed in that 10 years and basically keep myself up to date, make sure what I was practicing at work was fresh. Because there aren't many opportunities to learn sort of externally on the job. It's very much a small little team and we keep to ourselves. So to actually go out externally and learn things, essentially, I'll keep myself topped up on what's current. Yeah, that really appealed to me. So that's kind of why I got involved on it. And I absolutely loved it. I really did enjoy it. I thought it was a fantastic course.
Fantastic. So obviously you mentioned there, obviously you're a product developer by trade. You've worked at the same company for some time now. What is that company and kind of what, as a general high-level overview, what is it that they kind of do?
So it's a bit of an obscure one, but it's called Ridgemonkey. So you might be able to see on my top there, I'm proudly wearing one of my own shirts that I've made. And it's essentially predominantly fishing, but also outdoors sort of lifestyle brand. So carp fishing mainly, but camping, hiking, that kind of thing, outdoor leisure activities. So that's all kinds of things. That's plastics, it's luggage, it's clothing, as you can see. It's a bit of everything, really. It's, thousands of products in our catalogue. And that's always been an interest of mine, sort of growing up. And then at university, I tailored a lot of my projects towards that because that was what I was interested in. And luckily, I was able to sort of get a role in the industry. I enjoy doing the thing that I'm quite skilled at. So, yeah, very lucky to work exactly where I want to work.
Very good for you and sounds very impressive. So I guess I think I kind of know the answer to this, but did you enjoy the Skills Bootcamp course first and foremost?
I did. I've always, to be honest, I've always been that sort of character. I've always enjoyed school and I like learning and getting certificates and like I said, upskilling. And I quite enjoy the actual knuckling down and making notes. I missed making physical notes. You don't really get to do that at work anymore.
No, you don't, yeah.
So to actually take notes and learn things from a PowerPoint and have a quiz at the end and have the little sort of that gamification competitive side of it, I really, really enjoyed it, actually going back and working there, obviously virtually, and then the in-person days were very good as well. So I did enjoy the whole thing.
Fantastic. So obviously you enjoyed the course, that's brilliant. What would you say sort of your key takeaways from the course was on kind of like the learning side of it? And then more personally, what would maybe your sort of favourite part of the course?
Yeah, so I'd say one area that I didn't really know anything about at all was your big data, cyber, kind of that whole area. I didn't really know too much about. It was very much left to other people when I work, and you're sort of made aware that you need to be careful with GDPR and things like that. But actually learning a bit more about why and what it is was I think that's quite important. It's not necessarily something I'm interested in either. So to have it as part of the course, like a mandatory bit to study, was good because I needed to know a bit more about it, even if it didn't appeal to me as much as the physical printing side of it. But that's the importance of having like a rounded sort of course like that. In terms of printing, that was really good to recap on all the different types of the several different types of physical printing. I've only ever really used FDM and a bit of SLA printing, but learning about all the high tech stuff and the things going on now that I've not used or even heard about was pretty cool. CAD wise, I have used quite a lot of CAD softwares, including Fusion before. But I was self-taught, so I'd never actually learnt it through anybody or anything, just watched a few YouTube videos and picked it up here and there. So to actually go through the booklet essentially from scratch and just make sure that what I knew was the correct way of doing it. I call it CAD etiquette. It's subsidised obviously by the government, which is a big appeal obviously, and I thought I can use this as a sort of way to upskill myself, but also benefit the company. It was mutually beneficial to us.
Yeah.
And then I approached the company with that, and I said, look, this is basically what you get, all this training, and you actually get a printer, which is the big sweetener for them. They saw the end result and thought, oh yeah, you get to actually make stuff, and we have printed pretty much every week since I've had it. Just little bits here and there for work, which is for people, to actually physically see what you're working on is so much more beneficial. So I approached them and said, look, would you mind helping me out with this? And they luckily they paid for it for me, which I'm sure I'm allowed to admit that is allowed, isn't it?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, but that's kind of how it works. And then they said it was very much a litmus test because they, like I said, they don't tend to offer too much training. It was very much you have to source it yourself. So we saw how this went and how successful it was, and I think they're going to look into it for other people now. As I mentioned before, only a very small team, but I do think when we get people on board, if they want this kind of training, then I think they'd support it in future, which I would definitely advocate for.
100%. So you mentioned there that you briefly mentioned that you kind of use it pretty much every single day, just printing sort of things here and there. Just kind of go into more detail as to what exactly that looks like. Is it kind of prototyping? What exactly does that look like?
Yeah, absolutely. So lucky enough, we work on several different projects across different areas. A lot of them are sort of mostly done, and we just want to refine things like the form of handles of things like that. And I'm trying to think of, we have a range of cooking pans that like separate and open up and the handles click off. And we've had a concept for a slightly better way of doing that, of actually removing the hands on these frying pans, handles on the frying pans. So we'd had several sketches and little sort of napkin sketches of, maybe this bit clicks off here and there's a spring here, and which are okay. You need those initial sort of ideas, and then we've been able to obviously use Fusion to draw them up a little bit, roughly in CAD, and we can sort of have a look at that, and then actually to run them off that same day that we have a development meeting and have them by the end of close of play, have 3 different ones to actually try and play with, and that one works a bit better. What if that was thicker? To actually have that process sped up as quickly as previously we'd have had to either outsource it in the UK to a farm, a bit like yourselves. I know you do some 3D print farm work as well, or even with our suppliers directly, which tends to be in the Far East, which is fine, but it takes obviously a lot of time and a lot of cost as well. So to actually have that in-house and run off just little simple things. Oh, I think that handle might be too big. How does that feel in the hand? And then, let's actually just print it and have a go, and then we'll know straight away. That's one example I can think of. Lots of little silly bits and parts of products rather than whole things, little bits, little internal components and things, or even if say for example we're putting together something and we need a jig as well. We've had a couple of jigs printed out just to hold pieces in place while they're glued or stuck together, which is something that's so custom to what you need. You couldn't get that any other way other than CADing it up yourself and making it.
It's a great example. So you kind of utilize more 3D printing there to sort of save time, costs, resources, kind of efficiency, to sum it up as one word. It's a great example. So the 3D printing technology then, by the sounds of it, is that a new technology that you've kind of implemented into the business, or was that something that they was already doing pre-course, if you will?
We used it via someone else. So we'd say, can we, this is what we want, can you print it for us? And that was the extent of it. But actually having control of it internally and being able to make those, even with the CAD, making those small decisions, without having to wait weeks at a time to get another one back and then actually want it bigger. It speeds up that process, like you say, efficiency massively. And actually I find as well, another benefit of it in our team in particular, so I'm quite 3D minded. I like to visualize things in 3D and make the CAD. That's how I visualize stuff. A lot of my colleagues aren't necessarily. So you can show them all the drawings and all the sketches you want, and they can't quite get it until you put it in their hands and say, right, that's what I mean, that's the shape, or the cutout here, or even things like optimizing for molding, so injection molding. When you're trying to explain what an undercut is and why it can't be injection molded in 2P, and they cannot get their head around it, and you show them with a 3D print, so that's why that can't be done. Even stuff like that, I think that helps massively to, in a way, bring everyone else to to understand what you're on about a little bit more, which I think helps massively, especially in a small team.
So I guess looping back to the start, then you kind of mentioned about how you loved kind of the education side of things and learning and whatnot. So you seem pretty educated on the on Industry 4 and advanced manufacturing prior to the course. You mentioned the cyber and big data was quite a big sort of learning curve, if you will. Do you feel that prior to the course, then post course, do you feel that your overall knowledge and understanding of Industry 4 and advanced manufacturing, would you say that has improved after the course and coming through the course? Would you say it benefited your knowledge?
Yeah, I would definitely say so. Even the term Industry 4, I was sort of familiar of what it was, but I couldn't tell you You know, it's different to what I'd learned as an industrial designer. And then before that, I did an international baccalaureate instead of A levels, but design technology there, it was the same sort of thing, but called something different. And even sort of knowing what that meant and what the next step in industry is has come on that much since I finished. I sound really old. It was only 10 years ago or so, but to keep up to date with that, I think was the most important thing for me. And to make sure that, okay, you know, what I learned isn't out of date yet. It's just slightly different, maybe.
100%. So, I mean, there's an amazing kind of overview there. You've given some amazing points. I guess we'll kind of sum it up with, you know, your final thoughts in terms of the course. Would you recommend the course? Would you say it's a positive? Would you say that when you come on the course, you maybe gain confidence and more understanding when you're speaking to people about, you know, Industry 4, advanced manufacturing, you know, these technologies?
Yeah, definitely. I would genuinely would. I mean, I've been singing its praises at work and beyond. I thought it was superb, really. The two in sort of in-house days as well, I think were really important as well, because it's very easy to sit on, you know, eight or 10 meetings and tick the boxes and pass, but actually to come and meet people and get stuck in and see it and build it, I think that's a really nice element of it, almost like a treat at the end of it. So you're ticking off your lessons thinking, right, now I can finally go and get stuck in physically. But I thought it was just a point on the people there. I think they were really, really good. That's not easy to run a full day session with a load of random people with different abilities that don't know each other. It's quite a difficult thing to do and make it interesting. And as interesting as it is running through a PowerPoint all day, I know it can be. There are some points you think, wow, that's not the most exciting. But actually, I think it was superb. Yeah, the quizzes at the end kept everyone engaged until the end and meant you had to take notes and listen and pay attention. The fact that you could give plenty of feedback and there were lots of chances to, you know, what do you guys think of that? What's, you know, and picking people out and asking them. So I think it was good. It was very, very good. Having had a lot of, luckily I finished university after COVID, but I know a lot of people that went through it and did a lot of virtual university. And I know how laborious that was and how in that sort of environment it was more difficult because there's a lot more people and you're just reading off a PowerPoint, but this felt much more engaging. And I do think if a few of my colleagues lived in the same sort of area, they would certainly have done it already. But a couple of them are from the south, so they're looking for alternative things. I'm not sure if it's going to expand that far yet, but
hopefully one day.
Hopefully one day, exactly. But no, I thought it was brilliant. It was really good, and I'd always sort of going to work the next day talking about what I'd learned and say, oh yeah, did you know this? And even that's a nice show of how good it was. Yeah, no, it was very good, and I'm very grateful actually. It was good fun.
Oh, you're welcome. And you know, I appreciate all the kind words and to hear the positive impact it's had on yourself and your company and your business. It's amazing, really. But yeah, appreciate obviously you taking the time out.
Not a problem.
And we've overran slightly what was expecting, but other than that, you know, have a great rest of your day. We'll be in touch shortly with, you know, the edited video, and we'll distribute this video and we can spread the good word of yourself and what you've done and championing the course. It's amazing to see. Other than that, have a lovely rest of your day and appreciate taking the time to speak to me.
Not a problem at all. Good to chat to you.
Fantastic. Likewise.
See you in a little bit.
Take care, Dan. Cheers for that.
Bye bye.
Bye bye.